With AI increasingly reaching further into our everyday lives, it's difficult to know whether we should be excited or terrified. Thankfully, we're incredibly fortunate to have a tech giant living amongst us. From humble beginnings digging trenches for his father to the cutting edge of IT and AI, it is my great privilege to introduce Kāpiti coaster Scott Houston to provide insights into where our AI journey may be heading. With a shared passion for all things boats, it seemed appropriate to catch up here at Wellington's stunning Clyde Quay. Well, Scott, welcome to the Boat Shed. Thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. We really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. From a pickaxe in a trench to a highly successful tech entrepreneur, who is Scott Houston?
Well, gosh, I should have expected this, really, shouldn't I?
It's all about you. So
yeah. Well, the great thing is I grew up in Kāpiti. When Kāpiti School first opened, I was in the first cohort. So Prima 1, the school didn't even have a name then. And so I spent about 3 or 4 years there. Then my parents moved to Plummerton, and I went into town, went to Wellington College, and got into IT. So I started programming in COBOL on punch cards. It shows how old I am. Had a career in IT. Spent time in London. My father was Scottish, so I spent about 6 years in London. In the early days in the 80s, it was kind of the wild west of, they automated the stock exchange, and so computer programmers were earning fortunes, and then PCs came along. And I've always been quite entrepreneurial and had various roles, had various attempts at it. I was looking at building a trading platform in London, and I came back and I thought, well, no one's going to buy and sell used computers in New Zealand. And, I thought, well, it's not worth it. And then trade came along pretty darn well. Timing is everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I worked for a company called Compaq, and then a company called Silicon Graphics. And they made these really cool, if you love computer, which I do, they made the most beautiful looking computers on the planet. And at one stage in the late 90s, they owned Cray supercomputers, who were like the Ferrari of the computer world. And their workstations were beautiful purples and greens and blues, and were just stunningly fast. And our biggest customer was Peter Jackson for Lord of the Rings. And so they became Silicon Graphics' biggest customer in the Southern Hemisphere with the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring. And so I sort of rose to stardom within the Silicon Graphics community, and we were doing very well. And then the CTO at the time, after the first movie, said that he wanted to move on and get into gaming. And I was a little bit selfishly worried that my biggest customer was going to leave, and Silicon Graphics were having their own challenges as well. Windows was coming along. They had their own version of Unix, and they weren't competitive really with x86 PC type technology. And so I asked the CTO John LeBrie, who he thought would replace him, and he suggested I do. And I said, look, I'm really I'm not a film guy. I'm a tech guy. And he goes, well, you'd be running the tech team. So I took on the role of CTO for The Two Towers, and then following that, Return of the King. In the 3 movies, we doubled the computing capacity year on year on year. So by the time we'd finished the 3rd movie, the Return of the King, we had something like 4,000 servers in 4 different data centers scattered around Wellington. And we probably had more processing. We definitely had more processing power than NASA. I wanted to do a test because I knew that if you looked at just the pure compute capacity in the world, number 1 was a giant Earth simulator the Japanese government had built in Tokyo that was the size of a football field. Number 2 in the world was the Los Alamos nuclear test simulation site in Nevada, and number 3 in the world in Wellington, New Zealand.
Far out.
Was the render farm
Yeah.
to render all the orcs.
Yeah.
And so we had all this capacity left over, and we didn't really need it. The next project was going to be King Kong, but that was 3 or 4 years away. The high-end rendering, the high-resolution rendering at 4K that we were working at then, that is when you needed the processing capacity. So really for the first 2 or 3 years of production, they're looking at low-resolution images, and it's not until that really last part that you need to have the photorealistic imagery.
So for those people who don't know what rendering is, can you explain roughly how that process works, how you get an actor to ultimately look like an orc within the movie?
Yes, yeah. Well, so there's different stages where there might be animation. So they're building sort of digital models of characters down at the at the skeletal level. So they might take a human image and then enhance it with stronger thigh bones. If it's taller, it's a large orc. Larger body mass, muscular definition, and so they're building these really, really, really realistic digital models. But then you might have a background of a castle or a ghost flying past or something like that. And so what you need to do is build on these different layers, and then some of those are digital versions. So some are really often, and certainly in Lord of the Rings, the first 60 characters that you might see in the foreground are real life characters. The rest are all digital characters.
Sure.
So you're building a digital image of those characters. So first of all, you might be moving them. You're creating the characters. You're creating the digital clothing, the cloth, the animals. And then you want to bring that all together in that final shot that looks photorealistic. So they look as close to realistic in the background as they do in the foreground, where they're actual real characters.
Yep.
And so that requires a heck of a lot of computing capacity. So on average, towards the end of Return of the King, we were running around 10,000 jobs a day, where the artists are going, does this look all right? Change that color, change that. And I mean, that's the craftsmanship that Peter and Joe Lettieri, who was the head of visual effects, they could see something and go, no, that's not quite right. I need you to change that. And so the artists would change that, but at a photorealistic level.
Incredible.
Amazing. Yeah.
It goes into one of the questions that I really wanted to ask, was because it's actually sort of a blend of both. You not only, when I look back at my computing days at school, we could just about get our name to repeat in MS-DOS. And I so wish that I'd concentrated a bit more in my computer days, because these were exciting times for anything computing, weren't they? In early 80s, you were absolutely in the heyday and the forefront, cutting edge of computer technology. So you've not only done the computing side, but you've also done the visual effects through Weta Digital.
I'm not a graphic artist, so I manage the team, but it was great to be on the sidelines of that. What is really interesting now, and my focus has been on artificial intelligence, and that is another game changer. In fact, it's probably a bigger game changer. It's as game changing, if not more game changing, than the advent of the PC. It's moving at light speed.
Yeah, quite incredibly so.
Yeah.
So that is your current role within you're concentrating within the AI sphere.
Well, so I'm probably jumping ahead now, but I decided that I didn't want to manage technical teams anymore. In 2018, I had kind of retired, and I decided to do something completely different, which was write a fictional novel.
Okay.
And I wanted it. So I like reading. I've written lots of white papers and reports. How difficult could it be to write a novel? But I wanted to write a novel about an algorithm that became sentient.
Okay.
And I wanted to use the journey in the novel as a way to sort of educate people as to what was happening in artificial intelligence. And in 2018, when I started writing the novel, and I talked to people about, if we do create this beautiful brain that's artificial, what rights would it have? So it was really a story of emancipation. And most people in 2018 went, "But this is this is Skynet sort of stuff."
Sure.
Yeah, this is Terminator. They're just robots. They don't have emotions or anything like that. And it really, actually, back in the day, we were looking at, the scientists were looking to replicate, if they wanted to, because people were thinking about artificial intelligence being around a long time, but how do you build a digital version of the human brain? And so they were slicing up worms.
Okay.
And actually, and using the synapses and the neurons of a worm, then subsequently potentially a mouse. They thought they could build this digital version of a brain, but they were miles away from a human, mirroring this human brain. But then along came this ChatGPT
Yep.
and reasoning and large language models. And it's just evolved so fast. If you think that ChatGPT is really only 2 or 3 years old, and the evolution of AI today, where people are really concerned and people are leaving Google and going, well, I'm really concerned about how fast this is moving. It's a fascinating time.
Is it something that we should be concerned about? Where are the opportunities? Where are the risks?
The risks are, I think, very real. The first risk will be job losses. So automation, it's like the Industrial Revolution, really, and that has benefits, because the first jobs that will be replaced will be the repetitive tasks that no one really likes doing, that can be automated, and we've seen that happen over generations, over many years. The question then is, can I build a business with far less people? The challenge is not really the job replacement. It's more the fact that how will a country like New Zealand fund that? And so there's a lot of conversations around the world around either a universal basic income, and so potentially in the future people may never have a job. But how would we fund that? And the only way that we could potentially fund that is taxing the companies that are creating the agents that are replacing the humans.
Sure.
And so there's conversations happening around the world today about, maybe Microsoft and Google and Amazon and, OpenAI, NVIDIA's worth $5 trillion.
Sure.
Maybe they, who are kind of responsible for these changes, should be paying a tax where those agents have replaced humans.
It's quite incredible. We're moving into an unknown territory, both from a technical perspective, but also from a sociological one as well.
Yeah, totally.
And we've never seen this before, where large swathes of the population simply won't have a job.
Yeah. And I was sitting down with some friends of mine that are working for Microsoft, and in the past they were running teams of 30 or 40 developers, and now they run teams of 30 or 40 agents. And I was saying to them, and they both had kids there. The kids were sort of 8 and 9, and I said, it's sad that that their children would probably not grow up to be software developers. And they said, no, we don't. We know that. What we feel sorry for are the people that are doing comp sci degrees at university today.
Sure.
In 2 years' time, when they come out of their degree, they probably won't have jobs.
Yep.
So it's moving at that speed. But there are huge opportunities there as well.
Absolutely.
People are re-platforming their software. They're building unique tools. We're starting to see robotics. There are just a myriad of new opportunities, and I think we'll see a real revival in small to medium businesses, because the tools are there to actually build a business from a platform up in a matter of weeks. That would take months and millions of dollars to do in the past.
You chase your tail a little bit on that conversation, though, in reality, because if we don't have jobs, or it's almost starting to question the viability of cash and money itself, unless we are working on that universal basic income type model. Ultimately, if we don't have people employed, we're chasing our tail to say, what's the point in starting a business if you can't make money because nobody's got any? We're into this social dynamic that's looking very strange, and we just don't know what's around the corner. I mean, I totally see it from the business development perspective. So how efficient it is in being able to scale things rapidly.
I think there'll be really great opportunities on the creative side. How we fund it is still a challenge, but maybe we'll see small and medium businesses that grow are super profitable, but they're around leisure time.
Sure.
So imagine if we only have to work 10 to 20 hours a week, and the rest of our time is spending time at the boat shed,
absolutely,
taking the canoe out, going fishing, socializing.
Yep.
And there are business opportunities around that as well.
Definitely.
So if we get this right, we can have, our children and grandchildren will have wonderful lives.
Yes.
If we get it wrong, it's all over Red Rover.
Yes, indeed. There lies the challenge. We've both enjoyed. You mentioned earlier that the wonderful life that you grew up on the coast. I've raised my two children on the coast and one back in the UK. We have an incredible lifestyle on the Kāpiti coast. You've talked about the possibilities for AI. And its impact on business and the idea around leisure, et cetera, et cetera. We're well set for that type of industry. Do you see a correlation with how we can use those benefits and opportunities in AI, specifically around the Kāpiti coast?
Yeah. I've been working with the Kāpiti Economic Development Board for 5 years now. We're going to rebrand ourselves as Enterprise Kāpiti. We started building clusters. So we built a food and beverage cluster because we're an amalgamation of small businesses really on the coast. We don't have the big industrial companies on the coast, but we have great artisans, great technical people, great tourism operators on the coast. So the strategy has been to build these clusters, but we're now taking it a step further where we want to attract those businesses to the region. It's a great place to live. The weather's better than Wellington. Wellington's dying, by the way. It's so sad after living here, growing up. The whole evolution of Courtenay Place and the party environment that the weather was really part of in those early 2000s is not there anymore. And so the coast it's had a real revival. And we're not just all about retirement homes.
No, indeed.
Yeah. And so we are very deliberately and actively trying to attract businesses to come up to the coast because of the lifestyle, the climate, the safety of the region, a great place to raise your children. And we have land. We have a lot of development opportunities up there. And we have some great developers that are looking to build world-class facilities that companies can come and grow in. Core to that is the airport. And you and I both had conversations over the years.
We have indeed, yep.
I think the airport is absolutely critical to the region. And so, whatever we can do to keep that as a functioning airport and build around that a logistics hub, build around that some sort of industrial type businesses. In fact, I have a meeting later today where we're meeting with MB to try and attract a large organisation that's doing world-class engineering here to the Kāpiti coast. So we're really actively, working on that, and there are some really great opportunities on the horizon.
Fantastic. That was very much the vision for the airport from Sir Noel Robinson back in the day. Was exactly that. That industrial blend between the industrial retail and the airport in existence. It's a shame we didn't move at the time, but hindsight's a wonderful thing.
There's still an opportunity,
absolutely,
and it's particularly relevant at the moment. The airport is for sale, and we just hope that it stays as an airport.
There's a discussion, and we have talked about this in the past, where the opportunities around the airport specifically for development purposes. And to sort of draw all of our conversations together, do you see the future as far as personal drones and the ability to actually use them as a transport facility. There's an awful lot of research and development going into the personal drones and personal aircraft. Is there a future for us in that space?
Talking with the people that want to keep the airport open, logistically, electric planes and drones probably aren't as developed as we would like to see for freight. You're not getting the payload through electric, and maybe hydrogen powered drones, but I would it's not that far away when you drive in and park at Kāpiti Airport. There's a drone flying from Kāpiti Airport to Wellington Airport for 6 people without a pilot that runs every 15 to 30 minutes, and you're at Wellington Airport in 15 to 20 minutes. And if the weather's too windy, then it's not flying, and it's super easy, super efficient. That's certainly within my lifetime, and probably a lot sooner than I would expect. Vertical takeoff planes, yes. I think we still need a runway for at least another 20 or 30 years, but there are people that know more about that than I do. But it's not just about having a tennis court size launch pad. It's the logistics around that.
Yep.
It's the safety. We're talking to folks who are talking about maybe setting up a drone school in the region. And we're even talking to folks who want to build lasers to shoot down drones.
Yes, indeed, absolutely.
And why can't we be? Why can't we be at the centre of that?
Yes, exciting times.
Yeah,
exciting times from the technology and from the coast. Really exciting.
Yeah, and there are people really thinking about this, and the beauty of the makeup and the people that you're talking to, they've got a wealth of global experience, and everyone just wants to make Kāpiti a better place to live, which is just fantastic.
Incredible. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
You've talked earlier on around your role within Weta Digital as a CTO. What was your highlight from The Lord of the Rings?
I think just being part of it. I mean, the Lord of the Rings was quite an amazing journey for New Zealand when you think that pretty much everybody knew somebody, or somebody knew somebody that knew somebody that was part of the movie. Half of our entire army were, recruited as orcs. That's not going to happen around the world, is it? Okay, it's a battalion, but there's 700 soldiers there. And so it was a real New Zealand link, and as I said, it really revived Wellington. So just being part of that. The funny thing though was, because I love movies, so I love going to watch movies. And the first movie that I worked on was The Two Towers. And so when I sat down at the cast and crew screening to watch the final movie, which I was so looking forward to, all I could think of were the challenges. Like, oh no, I remember that. We couldn't get that render right. Oh no, I remember we had to get Peter that file. So the whole suspension of disbelief because I was like, oh no, I remember that. Oh gosh. That's kind of gone now, but I think it's just being part of a remarkable group of people that was, that was really engaged in something special.
Yeah, fantastic.
And being part of all of the whole New Zealand Link part of that as well.
Interesting enough, I think, I don't know if I still am, but I certainly have shod many of the horses that were in the movie as well. So exactly as you say, not only the people, but the horses as well.
Yeah. It was just a remarkable time. Yeah. And so what do we do to get that back?
Yeah, true. It fits in again with what you said earlier on around, we've heard John Key say this in the past, that Wellington's dying. You've said it again today. Is there opportunity for Wellington? Because there's always a conversation around what's good for Wellington is good for the coast, and I'm not 100% sure that everybody would necessarily agree with that. But there is a linkage as we do well down here. Is there a future for Wellington?
Absolutely, there's a future for Wellington. My focus is on the coast, not to the disadvantage of Wellington, but we have a deliberate strategy to grow our commercial capability. We have an opportunity to, and we have the space to enable businesses to scale on the Kāpiti coast. I do. My gut. I mean, of course, I'm a Wellingtonian, so I want to see Wellington succeed. I think it'll be around the tech sector, um, tourism. Yes, hard to beat Queenstown and Tauranga. I think it'll be something around tech. I mean, we have a really burgeoning games development business. Weather is always going to be a cornerstone of our business. So how do we take
Capitalise,
advantage of that? Yeah. Well, an interesting, what's happening in the rest of the world is kind of playing into our hands as well, because, increasingly people, and the government is finally going, okay, well, look, these golden visas. I mean, a lot of people might object to that, but they're bringing in money. There are people that will come and live here, to not be part of certain regimes that are happening around the world. But, once they come here, they're going to love here. They're going to invest here. They're going to, even if they go back, they'll come back for holidays. They'll see business opportunities to invest in. I think the rest of the world is just going to fall in love again with New Zealand.
Yep. Green button. We haven't really touched on it at all. It was absolutely the probably the highest success from your perspective in many respects. Tell me about Green Button.
Yeah, I have to put that in perspective. My wife and my children. Actually,
from a business perspective, it's not the first time I've made that. Put that.
I have to be the same, because you go and launch into your careers, and then it's like, I'll raise two beautiful children.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was definitely the most fulfilling role, the toughest job I've ever done. Certainly the most fulfilling. So at the conclusion of the movies, they were literally going to turn off all these 4,000 computers. So I said to Peter and Richard and Jamie, how about we just carve out some and rent it out? And so I founded the New Zealand Supercomputer Centre in 2005, which at the time was the second largest on-demand computing, this was before cloud computing, facility in the world. And so we rented out. We helped render the animation, the Happy Feet.
Okay.
Yeah. We worked with GNS on seismic analysis for oil and gas fields. We did some biotech sequencing for a company called Biomatters in Auckland. We did some really, really cool stuff, but it was very manual to send a hard drive, process the data, and then courier it back. And it was only really viable for large tasks. And I wondered if you could sort of be sitting at your computer and just go, I just want to just send that away and get it done. It really seems simple now, because the cloud computing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I wondered if I could use my software design background to design a way to do that. And so I founded a company called Green Button, raised the capital here, and as I was telling you, I sold all my assets to fund the company, and then got some investors on board, some local investors, Movac and Evander, for both Wellington venture capital companies, and got a really great team of people around me, and so we went to the US. We had our development team here, about 20 developers here, and about 10 sales and marketing folks, including myself, that was traveling 2 weeks in New Zealand, 2 weeks to the US, 2 weeks back and forth. And by 2013, our customers were NASA, Pixar, Halliburton, and Boeing. And Microsoft said, hey, we kind of like this stuff you're doing. We'd like to acquire your company. So it was the first time that Microsoft had ever acquired a company in New Zealand or Australia. I think it is still the case today. And sold the company. And the press was, overnight sensation, Green Button. I'm like, overnight, just 10 years. It's pretty much bankrupt by that stage. Yeah. But we all did very well out of it. And all the team went on to work for Microsoft and have great careers there. And I stopped and retired.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I thought, this is it. I'm done. I bought a fishing rod and a set of golf clubs. And it turns out I'm not very good at either of those. So I got recruited by New Zealand Trade and Enterprise to be a beachheads advisor, and started helping companies with their growth and export strategy around the world. And then I went to work for a company called Sequent, and they made software to analyze mining deposits, gold, silver, uranium, that sort of stuff. So I ran the technical team there. And then that company got acquired in 2018. for close to $1.5 billion eventually.
Wow.
And I went, right, that's it, game over. I'm going to write this book about AI. And I would like to be brave enough to be a full-time author, and I finished my book.
Is it published yet? Oh.
I've self-published it.
Okay. Available on?
It's available on AWS. It's called Ada. Ada was the world's first computer programmer. But it's a bit weird. I don't think a publisher would like some of the weird sex scenes that I've got in there. I had to get some advice because it's quite gritty in parts, and I name companies and places, and so I had to change that. What the interesting thing is, it's now 8 years since I started writing. I finished it about a year ago. Pretty much everything has come true. Mm. And it doesn't have a Hollywood ending, so I hope that that part doesn't happen. But it's been really exciting, and it's given me really, because I didn't know that much about AI, so I had to research and understand how it was going to develop, and that insight has enabled me to provide some advice for other organisations. So I work with companies on their AI strategy, which I really enjoy.
Fascinating. It's so exciting at this time, and a little bit scary at the same time as to where we're heading. I'll be definitely downloading the book to get to the ending now.
I'll give you a copy.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, talking of advising businesses, you've been a great supporter of startups. Which ones stand out for you
today?
Absolutely.
I think the council, and Karen Andreasen especially, who works at the council, has done a wonderful job in creating a really burgeoning. I was there last night. We have a tech cluster, and people come and tell their stories. And there are people throughout the community that get together regularly. One of our dreams is a tech hub, and we'd like to have kind of a co-working environment for people that are working in the tech sector to come and hang out, work together, book a meeting room. There could be an opportunity for disaster recovery for the tech environment. So that's really growing, and there's some really cool startups in the region. One of the ladies who spoke last night, Ella Blake, has a company called Altitude, and she's a co-founder of a company called Altitude. She told her story. And these are really cool front-end interfaces for hotels. So you go to her stories. I love the stories. Stories. You get off a plane, you're tired, you get in a cab, you get there. There's a queue of 20 people. You just want your room. You just lie down. Well, the future of that will be, you've got an account. You go there. There's an electronic key. There's the wine that you want to drink, there's the room temperature, there's the music that you want to play, and it's all engineered personally for the user. So they've created that entity, and now have customers all around the world.
Yeah,
and
incredible.
It's from Kāpiti.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When we did, and where we first met was within a council setting and within the economic development space. And we did the same at the time, was where we cast a net across our community to see who was there, because we knew who was sort of active and busy and at the BNIs and all the other bits and pieces, but we didn't know who wasn't there. And again, at that stage, there were so many incredible people doing incredible things on the coast that it really is fascinating to actually start to get to see who's doing what and how we can take the Kāpiti Coast to the rest of the world. So
yeah, look, and it was interesting. We had a meeting about 2 or 3 years ago, and we got these guys from the Edmund Hillary Foundation, and so these are people who want to come invest, and we said, we'd like startups to come here. We want entrepreneurs to come here and run their business. What would it take? And they said, well, what are you doing? And we're like, well, we're talking about it.
Yeah.
And they said, well, you got to walk the talk.
Sure.
And and today we're walking the talk. We're hosting tech events that will regularly get over 100 people. We hosted the Startup World Cup for New Zealand in the region just before Christmas. We are walking the talk, and people are coming. They're being part of it. They can see it. It's a deliberate strategy, and it has to be a deliberate strategy. You just can't talk about it and it happens, because we've tried that. So there is a very deliberate strategy supported by the council, funded by the council, and it's absolutely working.
It was a hot potato through the campaign.
Yeah.
I may have kicked it from time to time. There's a lot of money tied up in the venture. I think even from talking about it today, it's probably money well spent.
Yeah.
Is there any opportunity for a reassurance to the Kāpiti community that this is money well spent as far as our economic development is concerned? Because you guys are in charge now, so how do you feel about that side of things?
Look, economic development doesn't happen by accident.
No.
It doesn't, fall from heaven.
No.
It doesn't happen magically with some fairy dust. It's a deliberate strategy, and so we've looked around at what's worked and what happens, and we've adopted a strategy, and most of it has worked, and we want to scale it up. The reality is, we cannot depend on the ratepayer to continue to fund economic development. So the whole idea is with the new enterprise, which is Enterprise Kāpiti, is that we can create separate entities and get funding from those entities without taxing the ratepayer further to grow those entities. So they could be special purpose buildings, vehicles, they could be buildings, they could be clusters. And so that gives us the opportunity to look for offshore funding, government funding outside of, and those sorts of capital injections are not available to the council. The government sees the region of Kāpiti as an area for high growth. They want to invest in that, but they don't have a vehicle. They can't just give it to to the council. And so by creating these vehicles and having a deliberate strategy where we can do private-public partnerships, where we can do joint funded initiatives, we can grow that. And because it's owned by a trust, that money will either go back to trustees, a charitable trust, to people in need, or fund other economic development objectives. Yeah.
So again, it sounds like it's an incredible opportunity for the coast in a format that works.
Yeah, look, the rest of the councils around the country are doing it as well. So if we don't do it, they're going to come and take our eat.
Absolutely. It's a good point. Do you see? That's been an economic development challenge for New Zealand across the board. We see councils fighting for the same space. What's our unique selling point?
Lifestyle. I think okay, quite. Mount Mauganui's got a great lifestyle. So is Queenstown. So how do we differentiate that? We're near a capital city. We today still have an airport.
Yep.
We have a crown jewel that is Kāpiti Island. We have a safe place to raise our children. We have a great climate. House prices aren't in the same scale as Queenstown. So but we've got a great community. The real unrealised gem, I would say, is that we have a whole lot of people that have had wonderful careers in Wellington that are kind of, maybe they've reached retirement age or they're not working all the time or working from home, that have a whole lot of capability and they're looking for opportunities to give back to the community. And so, building on that, enhancing that, providing an environment that they can get together and go, hey, look, I've had 20 years of experience in this, but I'd love to help mentor some other folks. So how do we build on that and build the community? I think we're making good progress, and we just got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Incredible, exciting times.
Yeah.
I'm really stoked to hear such a positive vibe. Now, we're in the boat shed.
Yeah, I love it.
There was a previous interview that I read regarding your decision to head down a dangerous path as far as boat ownership is concerned.
Yeah.
Tell us about your passion around the sea and boating.
Yeah, actually, I did grow up. When I left Plymouth, we went. So when we left Paraparaumu, we went to Plymouth, and I lived on the Mana Esplanade, and our house went down into the Paranui Inlet, and there were boat sheds there.
Absolutely.
So we used to fish off the boats. We had an old clinker that we would take out, catch spotties. And so I sort of had a passion for boating. Then in my late 20s, I bought a jet ski and jet skied around. I took the jet ski to the UK, can you believe it? 'Cause I went to work in there. But it was just so, it was really broke down all the time. And then my life had some twists and turns, and I was approaching 40, and I had an epiphany. And I was just across the road at the Copthorne Hotel at an event. Was a computer land. I was working at Compaq at the time, and Little River Band were playing a song called Cool Change. I looked out of the window, out where we are today, out into Oriental Bay, and went, this is not the life that I wanted at 40 years old. So I went out and bought a boat. I bought a 30-foot Merc Cruiser, which was a motorboat, a Miami Vice boat. completely not the right boat you should have in Wellington. I couldn't even drive the boat. I did a boat master's course, but before the thing is, in New Zealand, you can buy a boat. You don't even have to have a driver's license. It's really sad, really. And so I got them to deliver the boat. They delivered it. We launched it from Petone. The guy took it over and parked at the Marina berth. And it was a great party boat. I really enjoyed it, but I wasn't sure how to get it out of the berth. And in the early days, the guy in the berth beside me, if he saw me going out, he would go out as well, because he knew when I would come back in, I'd be bumping into things.
Absolutely.
So I got better at that, and finally had to sell the boat to continue to fund the company. But it sparked a love of boats of mine, that carries on to this day.
Yeah, incredible. And I wasn't aware, and I'm very pleased to hear that, in fact, actually, you are a volunteer Coast Guard.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Well, just saying, it's one of the most challenging things that I do. We go out in all the conditions. There's just a great group of people, and we genuinely love going out and saving people. I haven't had to actually save anyone's lives yet, but we've towed a lot of boats in that they've either run out of petrol or batteries. But the community of the volunteers in both Waikanae and Paraparaumu are just great people, and we have a lot of fun, and we do good work as well.
Yeah, and provide a great service for the coast.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
And we go out and we sell raffle tickets. I was a bit nervous about that. No one likes fundraising.
Sure. But
actually, the community love coming to talk to us, talk about stories about fishing in the sea and adventures they've had in the sea. The most remarkable people that buy the tickets are not the ones that want to own the boat. They're often little old ladies who go, you do a great job. Here's $15 for a raffle ticket.
Yeah, incredible.
And if I win it, I don't know what I'll do with it. But, and so the real community around the sea that we have here in Kāpiti is just wonderful.
I think it's a really underestimated and maybe not undervalued, but certainly understated aspect of our home is this wonderful coastal environment that we live in. And Coast Guards, for both of us has been a really valuable opportunity, again, to give back to the community and provide a service that does exactly that, saving lives at sea. So, yeah, fantastic, and congratulations for volunteering.
Yeah, thank
you. A tech giant that's that's sitting in a little boat trying to head off and save somebody with a flat battery at the island, or worse. Let's hope that's not the case. But
as I was saying, I've spoken in front of 18,000 people. But I get more nervous putting the boat back on the trailer. Actually,
absolutely, yeah. Now, one of the podcast moments is that we get an opportunity to test one of our local producers. So we've actually got a slight deviation with our the Baker's Dane from Levin, which is an incredible seedy cracker. But our local product today is the Funk with Food Bacon Relish and the bacon jam. So we're going to get into this product and have a taste to see what Funk with Food have produced locally for us. So which are you going to start with first?
I have tried the relish. I don't think I've tried the jam.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a judge in the Electra Business Awards, and I haven't seen Levin bake, but Funk with Foods was I think was a finalist at one of the Electra Business Awards.
Amazing.
And so part of being the judge is you have to kind of research them and try the products. And I just love the website. I love the way they operate. I love the way they think. I love there's a playful nature around the food and the product that I think is wonderful. So they're just a fantastic company and a real resource.
And one of the great food clusters again within the coast. So incredible people doing really fantastic food production. So we'll get into it.
Great.
Cracker.
Thank you. Oh, wow, these are great.
Okay. Grab a boat fork.
Oh, thanks, mate.
So you're on the bacon jam. I'm on the bacon relish.
It is good, isn't it?
So good. That would literally go with anything, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, anything with bacon, but...
Yeah. Right, we'll have to swap. Okay. I'll try.
No, I'm leaving it. Go on. That is really nice. Oh, spilled it. And there's some great food companies up the coast.
Incredible.
They're just doing really good stuff.
Incredible. It's an area that we really need to celebrate. And to a certain degree, proactively support as well. Because, at the end of the day, business needs people to thrive. Yeah. And if we can get out and actually actively support these incredible small businesses, then, we're helping to drive that local economy forward.
Well, a lot of the work that we're doing from an economic development point of view is we're taking the cluster format where people meet and share ideas and maybe go to events jointly is into a shared kitchen. Mm-hmm. So we've had a couple of proposals that we've looked at. We haven't quite got them over the line. But the next way to scale these smaller businesses that are often working from home is to have a commercial kitchen. So we had kind of 2 cracks at it. They haven't quite come off. So we've got to find the right place. It's got to be the right health standards. But I think we'll get there. Mm. And so that's an opportunity to go from, your garage or your shed or your home kitchen into an environment. Then we've got a logistics hub so you can fly your products all around the country. So this is an area that we're really working on, and we hope that this will be an opportunity for these companies to scale up to the next level.
Yeah, fantastic. So Funk with Food, bacon relish, incredible. They do a wide range of sauces and relishes. So get it onto their website and support our local companies. Yeah,
great products. Thank you.
Really great.
Yeah, really tasty.
Well, Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure. We could sit and talk for hours. I know you've got a busy day ahead. So thank you for your time. It's been incredible. I could sit and talk all day. Thank you so much indeed. We'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity again.
Thank you. Likewise. We have a fabulous guest list lined up, ready for No Kāpiti. If you'd like to hear more amazing stories from the people of the Kāpiti Coast, hit the subscribe button and follow us on Facebook.